In the Westerlands, Sir Jason Lannister is marching east from Castle Rock and is about to cross over into the Riverlands to confront Daemon at Harrenhal. Before he does so, he and his growing green army stop into the Golden Tooth, seat of House Lefford, a wealthy Westerlands family faithful to the Lannisters. The Lord of the Golden Tooth reluctantly agrees to temporarily garrison the Green Army and eyes its cages of actual lions nervously. Before he avails himself of the Golden Tooth's day spa facilities, Sir Jason sends a raven to King's Landing. The message instructs Aemond to meet him there on Vegor, so the Prince Regent can protect the Lannister army when they march on Harrenhal, where Daemon is still cooling his heels and tripping on goof juice. Cut to King's Landing, where Aemond predictably reacts to Sir Jason's demand by being hella outraged at it. His usual cool, sneering demeanor cracks and decays into the whiny fulminating of his brother Aegon. Aemond tells the council that he will reach out to the Triarchy. You'll recall them from Season 1. They're the 3 free cities that lie across the narrow sea from Westeros. It was the navies of the Triarchy that Daemon and Corlys battled for control of the Stepstones. The council doesn't love the idea. The Triarchy are mercenaries and not to be trusted, but Aemond thinks he's only being practical. After all, the Black's blockade of the Bay needs to be broken. Yes, the Lannisters are building an army, but they're still a long way away. And yes, the Lannisters and the Hightowers have fleets of ships, but it will take them months to arrive. Meanwhile, the Triarchy's navies are very near, and could set to work weakening the blockade immediately. We get a mention of the Greyjoys of the Iron Islands, but evidently they've not declared for either side just yet. Aemond tells Criston Cole to set out for Harrenhal immediately. His army will attack Daemon at Harrenhal from the east, the Lannister army from the west. Aemond keeps Alicent behind and wastes no time making his small council that much smaller by dismissing her from it. Alicent reaches out to cradle his face and lovingly stroke his scar. It's not clear whether this is just a cynical gambit she's busting out to convince him to let her stay, or if somehow the mother in her truly sees him and registers how the wounds of his childhood haven't healed. On Dragonstone, Rhaenyra's own council has once again gathered around the painted table. Corlys has accepted the position of Hand of the Queen without a fuss. She summons Sir Steffon Darklyn, leader of her Queensguard. Y'all remember him. He's the son of Sir Gunthor Darklyn, whose head Criston Cole lopped off at Duskendale back in Episode 4. She tells him of her current plan. Let's call it Operation Have I Got a Guy for You, which consists of trying to match riders to the riderless dragons hanging on and around Dragonstone. She tells him she's been down to the Dragonstone Records Department in the basement of the library, poring over the microfiche, and she's learned that his grandmother's grandmother was a Targaryen. Her council scoffs at this and points out to her that she's grabbing at some pretty thin genetic straws. The noisiest dissenter, now that surly old Sir Alfred Broom has been sent away, is the excellently named Sir Bartimos Celtigar of Claw Isle. Rhaenyra then reads Sir Steffon a memo from Trish in Legal, informing him that attempting to bond with a dragon could result in injury or death, for which Rhaenyra Corp and its subsidiaries cannot be held responsible. He agrees. At the Dragondick, the Dragon Keepers summon the dragon Seasmoke. This was Laenor Valerion's dragon. The blind date seems to be going well at first, but then something happens, maybe in their telepathic bond. Sir Steffon made a racist joke or treated the server rudely or told Seasmoke he really needs to read Jordan Peterson. Whatever the reason, no love connection gets made, and Seasmoke summarily smokes both Sir Steffon and an unnamed dragon keeper. Later, a preening Sir Bartimos attempts to serve Rhaenyra a steaming pot of told you so, but she slaps him for forgetting his place. Rhaenyra is brooding on the Dragonstone ramparts when Jacaerys joins her and tells her not to fret about Sir Steffon. You can't make a dragon rider without breaking a few knights, after all. Also, kudos for throwing hands at the old dude. Rhaenyra isn't ready to hear that. She's restless, she wants to fight, and is tired of everyone condescending to her. Jacaerys tells her that even if she led their army herself, she's not enough. They need Daemon and his dragon. At Harrenhal, Daemon dreams, or is haunted, or is tripping. The why doesn't matter, the what very much does. And the what is question is Daemon reliving the moment his brother King Viserys told him he'd named Rhaenyra as his heir, and angrily exiled Daemon to the Vale. He returns to reality to find himself threatening poor Sir Simon Strong, accusing him of causing his loony toonishness, and of being in league with the Hightowers, or Sir Larys, or even Rhaenyra herself. and stop watching me, he shouts, resulting in a low-key hilarious reaction shot wherein Sir Simon busies himself inspecting Harrenhal's moldering, guano-covered floors, walls, and ceilings. He sets out to leave, but on the way to Mount Caraxes, he meets Alys Rivers in the courtyard by Harrenhal's weirwood tree. Daemon lashes out, but Alys doesn't rise to the bait and remains her cryptic, spooky-ooky self, though she adds some therapy speak to the mix this time, admonishing him about his anger issues, and how his desperate striving for the crown makes him less worthy of it. She goes so full-bore Dr. Melfi, in fact, that Daemon can't help but go Tony Soprano to match her. He asks for her advice on dealing with Desse Gagoot's riverlords. She tells him he needs House Tully to control the Riverlands. He reminds her that its Lord Grover Tully still clings to life. She tells him to hang on a second, she's gonna get right on that. On Driftmark, Corlys Valerion's ship, which has been getting repaired in dry dock all season long, is finally ready. He asks or orders Alyn to be his first mate. Alyn agrees, reluctantly. Later, he and his brother Adam bicker over their status as Corlys kids. Adam shaves his head so no one can see his platinum blonde hair and consider him a nepo baby, while Alyn would be only too happy to get some love, emotional and fiduciary, from Papa Seasnake. In a tavern in King's Landing, Ulf is bellying up to a meager meal and belly-aching about it. Evidently it's been weeks since anyone's had anything but fish. A woman at the next table complains, a bit too loudly and clearly, that the Smallfolk are starving while the royal family feasts on roasted meat. She's a Mysaria plant, and she's selling the part. Ulf seems fittingly and exploitably annoyed. Later, when he sees a cart of sheep being hauled to the dragon pit to keep Team Green's dragons fat and happy, or whatever passes for happy, to a dragon, his mood sours further. That night, a small fleet of boats bearing fresh produce and meats and cheeses sails onto the beach around King's Landing, bearing Rhaenyra's sigil. And just in time, at the now very small indeed small council, Larys warns of unrest in the city, which Aemond dismisses. He also rebuffs Larys' transparent bid to be named the King's Hand, and tells him to summon Otto Hightower back to King's Landing, so he can resume the title. Larys' expression makes it clear that Aemond has made himself a powerful, albeit slimy, enemy this day. The Grand Maester enters and announces that Aegon will recover. The small council looks worriedly at Aemond, who says, "What happy news?" He goes to a wheezing Aegon's bedside and checks to see how much of the battle the king remembers. Aegon, in an uncharacteristically smart move, pretends to recall nothing at all, earning himself another day. Alicent, meanwhile, is on the second stop of her whirlwind, seeing what it feels like to be an actual mother tour. She sits at Aegon's bedside. Grand Maester Orwyle enters and tells her that they don't know where her father Otto Hightower is, but not to worry over much, as the war may be preventing effective communication. The courtyard of the Red Keep, where Criston Cole and Alicent's brother Gwaine are preparing to head out for Harrenhal. She asks Gwaine about her youngest son Darren, who was sent away to Aldtown while still young. He's 16 now, he tells her, and smart and strong and kind. That last word brings her up short because it makes such a powerful and damning case for nurture over nature. Gwaine tries to reassure her that she's a good mother. It's just that she raised her other kids in the Red Keep, and that's why they're the way they are. To her credit, she doesn't for a moment believe this. Final stop, Helena's room. Helena's keeping what look like crickets in tiny cages. She comments that this one stopped singing, and yeah, I don't know what it means either. Alicent invites her daughter to join her in a trip outside the Red Keep, to the Grand Sept, so they can light candles for Aegon, among others. Hugh the blacksmith is stomping through the streets when he's surrounded by streams of people carrying the food that Rhaenyra's just DoorDashed to the city. He rips a grocery bag full of cabbages out of the arms of some poor schmo and takes it for himself. He heads home just as the excited crowd grows into a riot. A riot that, as it happens, surrounds the very same Grand Sept that Alicent and Helena are praying in. The Kingsguard attempt to escort them to safety, but their carriage is a considerable distance away, and lots of things go south as they make for it. The crowd hurls both seafood and insults at them. They get separated briefly, and when one hapless citizen grabs Alicent, her guard lops off the guy's arm. Eventually, they make it their carriage, a bit banged up, though the guard who did the arm chopping gets swarmed by the crowd and left for dead, as cries of "Long live Queen Rhaenyra" echo in the streets. The people know what side their bread is buttered on, not to mention who sent them the bread and butter. And cabbages. So many cabbages. In the Red Keep, Lord Larys sits at a suffering Aegon's bedside and delivers a nifty little "we're not so different, you and I" speech to Aegon's growing horror. Larys basically tells him that people will pity him and underestimate him, which he can use to his advantage. He also tells him that Aemond will try to kill him, something that Aegon has already figured out. Cut to What I hope will be the final leg of Daemon's long, strange Harrenhal acid trip. He's flashing back again, comforting Viserys as the king weeps over the body of his beloved first wife Aemma. You remember Aemma, don't you? From the very first episode of Season 1, the woman he told the maesters to let die in childbirth so they could try to save the child, only to have both mother and child die, that Aemma. Daemon awakes, and Esser Simon Strong informs him that Grover Tully has finally died, despite the best efforts of their healer, Alys Strong. Daemon smiles, realizing that Alys did in fact get right on that. In the Vale, Rhaenyra complains about her lot in life to young Joffrey as they wander the hillside. She tells him she's resigned to being his and his half-brother's babysitter, even though she wanted something more. Just then they find a burnt patch of grass littered with sheep bones, a telltale sign of a dragon. She confronts Lady Jane about it, who admits that there have been sightings of a large and formidable wild dragon recently. She also informs Rhaenyra that Prince of Pentos has agreed to host Lil Joffrey, Lil Viserys, and Lil Aegon the baby, along with Rhaenyra herself to protect them during the war. But Rhaenyra, of course, being dragonless herself, is focused on that first part. On Driftmark, Adam is minding his own business doing random fisherman stuff when Seasmoke buzzes him and all the other folks on the beach. Adam runs into the trees. Seasmoke is his own beast, and he is determined. He finds Adam and stares him down. Adam stares back. On Dragonstone, Rhaenyra and Mysaria, how to put this? They share a romantic embrace. They rent a figurative U-Haul. They bring each other to the potluck, as it were. The moment is interrupted when Rhaenyra is informed that Seasmoke has found a rider. She assumes it must be a Team Green rider, and decides she's had enough of being coddled and protected. She mounts her dragon Syrax and takes to the sky.